Oh, look at my Ariana Grande ponytail. I just feel so fabulous. Actually, I'm kind of getting like I Dream of Jeannie vibes. Anywho, it is spooky season, which happens to be my favorite time of year. I really like horror and scary stories, ghosts, witches, vampires, all of that cool spooky stuff. This year, I thought I would celebrate spooky season by telling some of my own ghost stories.
Future Julia here. Yes, I know it is no longer spooky season anymore, especially by the time I post this video. Truth of the matter is, I did film it before Halloween, but just never got around to editing it because I was going through midterms. I just wanted to let you guys know, I know it's not spooky season anymore, but enjoy anyway. To me, it's always spooky season. For those of you who weren't quite ready yet for Halloween to be over, this one's for you. Anyway, back to your regularly scheduled program.
For whatever reason, spooky things tend to happen to my family, whether it's seeing ghosts or having a sixth sense, so to speak, especially on my mom's side, but pretty much everybody in my family has had some sort of creepy thing happen to them. This video isn't intended to convince you the supernatural or ghosts are real or not. This is just me having a story time, sitting down and just talking about creepy ass things that just so happen to happen to me. My family's had overall a lot of weird experiences. I'm not going to talk so much about their stories simply because they're not my story to tell. Like, I don't want to get details wrong, or because I wasn't there, or if I wasn't the main reciprocant of the spookiness. So I'm gonna focus more on things that have happened to me personally. So the first ghostly supernatural experience that I can remember, I was about maybe 3 or 4 years old. It was in the middle of the night. There was a really bad windstorm, and I lived in Georgia at the time. You don't really get windstorms there. You either get thunderstorms or tornadoes, but not necessarily like just a windstorm. There was no rain, no thunder, no lightning, just wind. My room was kind of on the small side. I had my bed on the back side of the room where the wall was, and across from the wall was the window. And there was a street light that would just shine in on the room at night, so the light came from the window and kind of went back into the room. So all the shadows were on the wall I was sleeping on, that side where the bed was. This is important because in the middle of the windstorm, I woke up and I saw a shadowy silhouette of the woman next to the window, which is weird because there shouldn't have been a shadow there because of the streetlight coming into the room through the window. So already I knew that this was odd, and the profile of this person was quite distinct actually. Like, it's hard to describe. Like, it was a shadow, but I could see distinct features. Like, I could tell that her hair was in a bun, and she had a high neck collar and puff sleeves. Like, it was very distinct. These weren't just like blobby shadows vaguely in the shape of a person. It was, that's a person. So much so that I thought it was an actual person in my room. And being 3 or 4 years old, I was super scared. So I jumped out of bed, I went to my parents' room. It's like, there's a woman in my room. And my parents came and looked. Obviously, they turned on the light, nothing was there. I remember being really freaked out, but somehow I managed to fall back asleep. I didn't realize until I was much older that my older siblings were also experiencing similar apparitions in the house, where it would be a shadow, but it'd be a very distinct figure where you could see like some of the features almost. So I won't talk about their experiences because I was young when this happened, but I did find out when I was older that they also had similar experiences to mine. And even in retrospect, my parents look back and they have their own theories as to why we were experiencing that. We don't think the house was haunted. Like, it was a suburb home. It wasn't old, but it wasn't new either. The land itself, we didn't think had any bad incidences happen on it. No Indian burial grounds. So we think it was more of entities targeting us, but we didn't pay it too much mind. And if you want to even like dare into devil or demon territory, if you don't give it attention or acknowledge it, it doesn't get stronger, so it'll move on. So I guess my family did the right thing by kind of ignoring the problem, and it just went away. So that was my first ghostly, supernatural, spooky experience. All my life, I've had weird stuff happen, like pop up, but I do want to jump ahead to more recent experiences. Two of which actually were in college. I was studying music. And it was an older school, it was like Victorian era. The dorm that I lived in was actually the oldest dorm in the campus, and it was one of the original campus buildings actually. It was an all-girls dorm. So this was freshman year. It was a Friday or Saturday night, and me and my roommate and suite mates were staying up super late watching like 21st Jump Street or something. Now I kind of need to explain the layout of my suite. It was 2 rooms, 2 girls per room, and connecting the rooms was like a shared bathroom. So there were 4 of us all together in this suite, so to speak. So all 4 of us, plus one of their boyfriends was randomly there. We were in one room just watching the movie. And we were up really late. I mean, it was a Friday or Saturday night. By the time the movie was over, we were just chilling and laughing and talking and stuff. And by that point, it was around the witching hour, around 3 a.m. I need to explain the layout a little bit more, just so you understand the story. We were the very last room at the end of a very long hallway. The only other way out was to go all the way down the hallway, or there was a fire escape, which obviously if you open it, an alarm's gonna go off. So we were just laughing and goofing off, and we suddenly hear a knock on the door. And our first inclination was, ah, shit, we were being too loud. It's probably the RA telling us to be quiet. So we were like, ah, fuck, we were being too loud. So my roommate went up and she looked out the peephole, because it's a college campus, you still can't be too careful. And no one seemed to be there. She's like, well, that's weird. Okay. So she came back and we just ended up talking some more, and there was a knock on the suite mate's door. So we were like, what? My roommate went up, she went through the bathroom to the other room, looked through the peephole, saw nothing. So she opened the door to look, like to catch whoever it was, and there was no one there. She didn't hear any footsteps or running and no doors closing. There was nowhere to run to. There were no other hallways. It was just a really long ass hallway. And because it's such an old wooden building, those floors creak like nothing else. You could tiptoe and it'll still make really loud noise. So she was like, this is weird. Someone's pranking us or something, but it's weird. So she came back to our room and we were like, what is going on? And probably a minute passed and someone knocked again on the suite mate's door. So my roommate was like, all right, I'm gonna go over to the suite's door and open it, and one of you will open our door, so we'll catch whoever it is, like in between the wall space, like where the bathroom was, like see if they're like running down the hall and we're just missing it. So we're really quick. We both go over and open the doors at the same time, and we peek out and we look at each other. No one's there. We're like, all right, this is really fucked up. So we close the doors and we make sure to lock it, because we're like, this is not right. This is something weird is going on. As soon as that happens, there's another knock on the suite door, and at the same time, the doorknob on my room started rattling like crazy, like someone was frantically trying to get in and shaking the door. And my roommate's like, there's no one here. She opened the suite door, there was no one there, but the doorknob was still fucking rattling. So we were like, oh hell no! So she closed the door and locked it, and we didn't touch our door that was like rattling, and the suite mates were freaking out. I'm just like, listen, it's an old building. Some ghost or some shit is pranking us. Just don't acknowledge it. Like, let's just ignore it and it'll go away. So we just carried on with the night. We just kept trying to talk and laugh it off, and nothing else happened the rest of the night. But it was freaking creepy. To this day, I still can't rationalize how it was a person. Like, my roommate claims she saw the doorknob rattling and no one was there, and I was on the bedroom side, and I saw no one through the peephole. I saw the doorknob rattling myself. The suite mates were like freaking out. I can't rationalize it. Even if my roommate was in on it, like say there was someone on the other side rattling and she was in on it, just saying there was no one there, I was looking out the peephole. Like, I could see myself. There was no one there. So it was really weird. I'm still trying to figure out explanations for it. It's not like someone was being really quick from the knocking before, because again, it was a long hallway. There were other dorm rooms in that hallway, but again, you would probably hear someone. Like, you could hear people all the time. It was an old building made of wood. It was very rickety. The next and last ghost story I'll tell for this video is a little more hard to believe. Even my family is skeptical of it when I tell them. But something I've learned over there is you can't make this shit up. There's ghost stories and stuff, but then there's real life experiences. Take what you will from it. I don't know how to explain it, but here we go. So I was still going to that same old college, and we had actually a really big religious studies department. One of the professors for that department specialized in like Eastern Asian religions, and his specialty was Tibetan culture and religion and so forth. In fact, he went there like every summer, and he actually became close friends with a particular group of Tibetan Buddhist monks. Every 3 years, these monks would come visit the school, and they did know some English, so they would do like lectures, and they even would make like a cool mandala, which, if you don't know what that is, it's this beautiful, intricate design that is made out of colorful sand, and the monks make it grain by grain. So it's very detailed. It takes a long time to make, and they would make it over the course of 2 weeks. And when they were done with it, you destroy it. You like brush all the sand away. And it's supposed to like represent the impermanence of life. But I'm derailing a bit. It was always cool, and so I was really excited to meet these monks. And as students, we were encouraged to like interact with them, like show them around campus, take them to lunch. And I remember I was with several of them and my classmates. We were in the cafeteria, and we were all sitting at this big round table just eating and chatting and having a good time. And 2 of the monks were whispering to each other and kept looking at me. And I didn't want to be rude, so I pretended I didn't notice. But they kept talking, and then they turned to a third one who spoke better English, and they spoke with him a bit, and then he looked to me and he was like, "Excuse me, pardon the question, but have you been to a funeral or graveyard lately?" And I thought, it is a weird question, but I'm not offended. No, I haven't. Why do you ask? And the monk continued to explain, well, all 3 of us noticed you have a spirit attached to your left shoulder. And it's a particular kind of spirit. It's a negative spirit. It's called a hungry ghost. And basically, it's a person who has died, and they lived like a really greedy, gluttonous life. And their eternal punishment is to forever feel like they're starving. And the only thing that can ultimately sate their hunger is to feed off the energy of people. And I was like, oh, is that it? And so they continued to ask me questions like, have you been feeling heavy, or like something's weighing down on you, or sadness? And as a matter of fact, I had been at that time. I was going through a really rough period of depression. My grades were suffering. My social life was suffering. It was actually one of my worst bouts of depression. So it kind of made sense. I was like, well, yeah, I have been going through some stuff. So it was very bizarre. They didn't offer too much advice other than just observing, oh yeah, you have a hungry ghost attached to your left shoulder. It was very specific. At the time, I was in a long distance relationship. She lived all the way in New Zealand. Yes, there were 8,000 miles between us. That's a whole other story. But anyway, even though she lived in New Zealand, she was originally from Malaysia. And so she still had like family and relatives over there. And her mother would visit their family in Malaysia once every couple of years. So she was actually getting ready to go back to Malaysia to visit family, and every time she would visit, her mother would visit the village Buddhist monk. And so my girlfriend actually suggested, she's like, when my mom goes to talk to the monk, she'll catch up with him, but also, get blessings or insight on things. Maybe she can bring it up with him. And so I had to take like a full body picture of myself, and I sent it to my girlfriend, who then in turn gave it to her mother. And I had a request though. I requested my girlfriend not disclose why I wanted the Buddhist monk to look at my picture and kind of evaluate it, simply because I wanted as close of a genuine reading as I could get. I didn't want to have the monk have some sort of insight. I wanted purely just his own true insight. So she's like, I'll ask my mom, see if she's okay with it, and she was fine with that. I'm sure she had some sort of inkling or guess, but she didn't know anything about the Tibetan monks who I had talked to or anything about the hungry ghost. She knew none of that. She knew I was going through a period of depression, and that was basically it. She didn't know the details or the extent of it at all. So she went to the Buddhist monk, and he said, like almost instantly looking at it, there is a hungry ghost attached to her left shoulder, and it's consuming her energy. What? He literally said the exact fucking same thing as the 3 other Tibetan monks. And this was all within a month's time frame. So I was like freaked out. I'm like, oh my god, what are the chances of this? The monk, you know, advised my girlfriend's mother to pass on to me that I needed to offer it food, like give it food offerings every so often, and every single night I diligently had to say a particular mantra in Sanskrit. So I was given the pronunciation for it, and so I would say it properly, and I gave food offerings, and I did this for a whole moon cycle, so basically a month. I started to feel better. Like my depression started going away, my grades were improving, I felt happier. Now do keep in mind, I was also attending therapy once or twice a week. I was started on antidepressant medication and anti-anxiety medication. So I was also utilizing Western methods of healing myself and resetting myself. So I don't want to say it was one or the other. I like to think it was a combination of the both. Ultimately, I worked my way up. My depression went away. Was it coincidence? Was it modern medicine and this other thing happened alongside? I don't know. But to this day, it freaks me out a little that 2 totally different monks said the exact same thing, very specifically attached to my left shoulder. Now, I'm not knowledgeable enough in Buddhism to know if it attaches to a particular part of your body for a particular reason, so maybe that's why they both said that. I don't know. And I've told this story to other people and they always laugh, like saying, well, I was an Asian ghost attached to you. You do need to keep in mind other cultures and religions. They don't necessarily think that their particular lore exists only in their homeland. Like, they believe this is how the universe works as a whole. So even though to us it's like an Eastern religion or philosophy or way of life, it to them may apply to the whole universe, not just specifically Tibet or Malaysia. So even though us Westerners might be like, why was an Asian ghost attached to you? That's not how practitioners of this belief would view that. As to where I acquired this ghostly friend, I have no idea. I wasn't at a funeral. I wasn't in a graveyard, which is where these beings tend to hang out. The closest thing I could think of was right next door to my dorm was a fucking mausoleum. But there were only 2 bodies in there plus a dog. So I don't think it was either of them attached to me, especially since it doesn't seem to match the personalities of the founder and his wife. They were said to be very good people, very generous, very kind, very religious, so I doubt it was them. But maybe there was some other entity on that old campus that took an attachment to me. I don't know. But ever since then, I am cautious of going near a graveyard because of that experience. I have been to funerals and I haven't seemed to experience anything else like that. I haven't gone through a period of severe depression like that. I do get seasonal depression, but it's not as severe as that particular point in my life. So, I don't know. It's very bizarre. I can't explain it. Was it coincidence? Maybe. I don't know. I like to keep an open mind, but it still fucks my mind over every now and then when I think of it. So yeah, those are 3 spooky things that have happened to me in my life. Maybe I'll make another video talking about other incidences, but those are like the 3 big ones that stand out to me most or were most significant in my life. Or maybe I could even get some of my family members to share some of their experiences. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, see ya!